name is Alexander Thorne, though most people in Los Angeles know me as Alex Thorne, CEO of Thorne Industries. Forbes calls me a visionary. Business Insider says I'm ruthless. My children just call me Dad, and honestly, that's the only title that matters anymore. 6 years ago, I lost my wife Sarah to pancreatic cancer. Aggressive doesn't even begin to describe it. One day, we were planning our 6th wedding anniversary trip to Paris. We'd been married for 6 beautiful years, and 4 months later, I was standing in a cemetery holding 2 small hands, Emma, who was 4, and Michael, who was 2, trying to explain why Mommy wasn't coming home. I don't remember much about the first year after Sarah died. My assistant tells me I functioned. I went to meetings, made decisions, signed contracts. But inside I was hollowed out, a shell of the man I used to be. The man who laughed at terrible puns, the man who danced in the kitchen while making pancakes on Sunday mornings, the man who believed in soulmates and forever. That man died with Sarah. What remained was a father who had to keep going because 2 little humans needed him, and a businessman who buried himself in work because Excel spreadsheets didn't ask him how he was feeling or look at him with pitying eyes. I promised myself I'd never love anyone that way again, never give someone that much power to destroy me. It was safer this way, cleaner. I had my kids, I had my company, and that was enough. Or so I told myself. I was 32 when she died. Now at 36, I'd convinced myself I'd mastered the art of emotional survival. I dated occasionally, always women who reminded me of Sarah in some small way, always relationships that went nowhere because I couldn't give them my heart. That part of me was buried 6 feet under with my wife. I had never even questioned it, never questioned my sexuality, my attractions, my assumptions about what my life would look like. I was Alexander Thorne, straight, widowed, father of 2. That was my identity. That was my truth. Until it wasn't. Daddy, can you come to my recital next Thursday? I looked up from my laptop to find Emma standing in my home office doorway. When had she gotten so tall? She was 10 now, wearing braces and an expression that was trying so hard to look hopeful, but couldn't quite hide the expectation of disappointment. What recital, sweetheart? I asked, already dreading the answer. My piano recital. I've been practicing for 3 months. I told you about it, twice. Her voice cracked on that last word. The guilt hit me like a physical blow. I pulled up my calendar. Thursday at 7 p.m., quarterly investors meeting. Emma, It's okay, she said quickly, but her eyes were already shining with unshed tears. I know you're busy. Grandma said she'll come. She turned to leave. Wait! I stood up, but she was already gone, her footsteps quick on the marble floors of our Bel Air mansion, the house too big, too empty, too quiet except for the echo of my failures as a father. That night, I couldn't sleep. I walked the halls and found myself in Michael's room. He was 8 now, sprawled across his bed with his tablet still playing some video on mute. I gently took it from his hands and noticed his search history. How to make my dad happy. Why is my dad always working? How to talk to busy parents. I sat down hard on the edge of his bed, my chest tight. Then I saw it, a drawing on his nightstand. Stick figures, 1 tall figure standing far away from 2 small figures. The tall figure had a frowning face. The small figures were crying. At the top, in Michael's careful 8-year-old handwriting, I miss my dad even though he's here. I picked up the drawing with shaking hands and felt something crack inside my chest. A dam I'd built so carefully, brick by brick, beginning to crumble. What was I doing? I'd been so focused on protecting my heart that I'd forgotten my children were grieving too. They'd lost their mother, and then they'd lost me to my grief and my work. I was becoming the thing I'd feared most, an absent parent, the kind of father who provided everything except what mattered most. Presence. I was letting them down. I was letting Sarah down. She would have been furious with me. I thought about our 6th anniversary, the one we never got to celebrate. We'd been lying in bed and she'd traced patterns on my chest with her finger. Promise me something, Alex. Anything. If something happens to me, don't disappear into yourself. Don't let grief make you forget how to live. Promise me you'll stay open to life, to love, to possibility, for you and especially for our babies. I kissed her forehead, thinking it was one of those hypothetical conversations couples have. Nothing's going to happen to you. Promise me anyway. I promise. I'd broken that promise. For 6 years, I'd broken it every single day. The next morning, I walked into my assistant Jennifer's office. Clear my schedule for the next month. Jennifer looked up from her computer, eyebrows raised. I'm sorry? What? You heard me. Move everything. Delegate what you can, postpone the rest. I'm taking my kids on vacation. Mr. Thorne, you have the quarterly investors meeting, the product launch, the merger negotiations. I don't care. I surprised myself with how much I meant it. My kids need me. Everything else can wait. Jennifer studied my face, then nodded slowly. Where are you going? Somewhere far away from here. Somewhere with cell service, preferably. Somewhere I can't hide behind work. I paused. Book us 3 tickets to the Maldives. The best family resort you can find. The Maldives, Jennifer repeated, typing. For a month. For a month. For the first time in 6 years, I was going to try to keep my promise to Sarah. We landed in the Maldives on a Saturday morning. The resort was exactly what the brochure promised. White sand beaches, crystal clear water, overwater villas with glass floors where you could watch fish swim beneath your feet. Paradise. Emma and Michael were ecstatic. They'd barely spoken on the 14-hour flight, conditioned by years of my distraction to not expect much. But when they saw the villa, saw the endless ocean, saw the kids' activities board in the lobby, something in them came alive. Dad, can we go to the kids' club? Michael asked, practically vibrating with excitement. Are you sure? Don't you want to rest first? Rest? Emma looked at me like I'd suggested we do homework. Dad, we're in the Maldives. I watched them run toward the kids' club, and for the first time in 6 years, I felt something that might have been lightness. That evening, they came back to the villa chattering nonstop. Dad, there's this really cool guy named Mile. He taught us how to make sandcastles, but like professional ones. He's from Thailand, and he knows like everything about sea creatures. He said tomorrow he'll teach us to ride bikes on the beach. He's so nice, Dad. You'd really like him. And he's really pretty, Emma added matter-of-factly. Emma, Michael giggled, you can't say that. Why not? It's true. He has nice eyes. I smiled at their enthusiasm. That's wonderful, guys. I'm glad you're having fun. Aren't you going to come meet him? Emma asked. Maybe later, sweetheart. You two enjoy your activities. That's what we're here for. But every day, they came back with more stories about Mile. Mile who was patient, Mile who was funny, Mile who made learning fun, Mile who apparently had infinite energy and even more infinite kindness. Mile whose parents were rice farmers in rural Thailand, who'd worked his way through university on scholarships, who sent most of his salary home to help his younger sister finish school. On the 4th day, I decided to actually see who this paragon of youth recreation was. I found the kids' area around mid-morning. It was a beautiful open-air pavilion with beanbags, craft supplies, and various sports equipment. A group of children were gathered around someone laughing at something. Then the crowd parted, and I saw him. He was young, mid-20s at most, with sun-kissed brown skin and dark hair that fell across his forehead. He was wearing the resort staff uniform but had rolled up the sleeves, and he was currently balancing on one foot while 3 kids hung off his arms, demonstrating some kind of yoga pose that had everyone giggling. And Emma was right. He was pretty. No, not pretty. Beautiful. The thought hit me like a physical blow, and I actually took a step back. What? Okay, he laughed, and his laugh was warm honey, genuine in a way I'd forgotten people could be. The sound of it did something strange in my chest, made my breath catch. Now we tried tree pose. Emma, show everyone how it's done. My Emma, my serious, careful Emma, who'd become so quiet after her mother died, stepped forward with confidence I hadn't seen in years. She balanced on one foot, placed the other against her thigh, and raised her arms above her head. Perfect, Miles cheered, and the genuine pride in his voice made something in me ache. Everyone, let's follow Emma. That's when Michael spotted me. Dad, you came! Suddenly, all eyes were on me, including Miles. And when our eyes met, the world tilted. His eyes were dark and deep, framed by long lashes that should have been illegal on anyone, and there was something in them, a kindness, yes, but also an openness, a warmth that felt like coming home into a place I'd never been. My heart was racing. Why was my heart racing? "You must be Emma and Michael's father," he said, walking over with an easy grace that I found myself tracking with my eyes. The way he moved, the way the sunlight caught in his hair, the way his smile seemed to light up his entire face. "Stop it," I told myself. "Stop staring." He extended his hand. "I'm Mile Fakpum. It's nice to finally meet you. Your children are wonderful." I shook his hand. His grip was firm, warm, and I held it a second too long before dropping it like it had burned me, and I found myself momentarily at a loss for words. "Alexander Thorne. Alex, thank you for... They really enjoy your activities. They're special kids." Miles' smile was genuine, and I couldn't look at his mouth. Why was I looking at his mouth? "Dad, watch this!" Michael called out, and proceeded to attempt a handstand that nearly ended in disaster before Mile quickly moved, hands spotting him protectively. I watched Miles' hands, gentle but sure, and felt something hot coil in my stomach. Oh, God. Oh, no. This was not happening. "Good try, buddy. Remember, we start with the wall first," Miles said with such patience, and I found myself wondering what that patience would feel like directed at me, and then I was wondering what was wrong with me. I was 36 years old, a father, a widower, a man who had only ever been attracted to women. This didn't make sense. This couldn't be happening. But I couldn't stop looking at him. I stayed for the rest of the session, ostensibly to watch my kids, but finding my eyes drawn to Mile again and again. The way he remembered every child's name, the way he encouraged without pushing, the way he turned everything into a game, the way his eyes crinkled when he smiled, the way he pushed his hair back when he was concentrating, the way his hands moved as he demonstrated an activity, graceful, capable hands that I had no business noticing. This was ridiculous. I was being ridiculous. He was a man. I wasn't. I'd never. But apparently I was. And I had. After the session ended and most kids had been collected by parents, Mile was cleaning up when Emma tugged on his sleeve. "Mile, can you teach my dad to ride a bike too?" I blinked, torn from my spiraling thoughts. "What?" Mile looked equally surprised, and when his eyes met mine again, I felt that same jolt. "You don't know how to ride a bike?" "I do," I said, and my voice came out rougher than intended. I cleared my throat. "I learned as a kid." "But you never ride with us," Michael pointed out. "You just watch from the villa." Mile glanced between my kids and me, and something soft crossed his face. Something that made me want to simultaneously run toward him and run away. "Tell you what, tomorrow at sunset, I'll set up a family bike ride on the beach. Just the three of you. What do you say?" Emma and Michael erupted in cheers before I could respond. Mile looked at me with a small, knowing smile that made me feel transparent, like he could see right through me. "Sometimes the best memories are the simple ones, Mr. Thorne." "Alex," I said before I could stop myself. "Please, call me Alex." His smile widened. Alex. The way he said my name should not have affected me the way it did. I was in so much trouble. That night, after the kids were asleep, I stood on the villa's deck, staring at the ocean and having what I could only describe as a complete mental breakdown. I was attracted to a man. Not just any man, a 24-year-old man. A man who worked at a resort. A man who was 12 years younger than me. A man. I'd been married to Sarah for 6 years. We'd been together for 8 before that. 14 years with a woman I'd loved with every fiber in my being. I'd never once in those 14 years looked at another person, man or woman, with interest. I'd been devoted, faithful, completely satisfied. After she died, I'd tried dating women, several women over the years. It never worked out, but I had assumed that was because I was still grieving Sarah, not because what? I ran my hands through my hair, frustrated. Was I gay? Had I always been gay? Was I bisexual? Was this just some weird grief response? Was I having a mental breakdown? A midlife crisis at 36? I pulled out my phone and actually typed, "Can you realize you're gay at 36?" into Google before immediately deleting it and throwing my phone on the couch like it had personally offended me. This was insane. I was insane. But I couldn't stop thinking about him, about Mile, about his smile, his laugh, his kindness, about the way my body had reacted to seeing him, to being near him, about how I wanted to know everything about him, where he grew up, what his dreams were, what made him laugh, what he looked like first thing in the morning. That last thought made me groan and press my palms to my eyes. Get it together, Thorne. You're a grown man, a father, the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. You don't have gay panic over the resort activities coordinator. Except I was. I absolutely was. I thought about Sarah, about our wedding day, about holding Emma and Michael for the first time, about those last days in the hospital when she made me promise to stay open to life. Had she known? Had she somehow sensed something in me I hadn't seen in myself? No, that was ridiculous. I loved her, completely, wholly, truly. That hadn't been a lie or a confusion. That had been real. But maybe love wasn't as simple as I'd thought. Maybe the heart was more expansive than one category, one gender, one path. Maybe I'd just never met the right person to make me question my assumptions. And maybe that person was a 24-year-old Thai man with a smile that made me forget my own name. I laughed then, a slightly hysterical sound that got lost in the ocean breeze. "Sarah," I said to the stars, to the universe, to my wife, who I still talk to sometimes when I'm alone, "I think you'd find this hilarious. I'm having a complete sexuality crisis over a guy named Mile who teaches kids yoga. What the hell am I supposed to do with this?" The ocean didn't answer, but I could almost hear Sarah's voice in my head. "Stop overthinking it, Alex. Just feel what you feel. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to let yourself want something again." I took a shaky breath and made a decision. I didn't have to have everything figured out. I didn't have to label myself or understand the full implications. I just had to be honest about what I was feeling. And what I was feeling was drawn to Mile in a way I hadn't been drawn to anyone since Sarah. Whether that made me gay, bisexual, pansexual, or just milesexual, I'd figure out later. For now, I just had to survive a bike ride tomorrow without making a complete fool of myself. How hard could that be? The next evening, I found myself on a beach bike, feeling ridiculous in my designer vacation wear, while Mile adjusted Michael's seat height. Every time he came near me, my heart rate spiked. This was absurd. I was a grown man, not a teenager with a crush. Except that's exactly what this felt like. A crush. A ridiculous, inconvenient, completely unexpected crush. "You look tense," Mile observed, glancing at me with those impossibly kind eyes. "It's just a bike ride." I know, but my hands were gripping the bars too tight, and not just because I was nervous about biking. Mile came over and his hands briefly covered mine, loosening my grip. The touch was casual, professional, but I felt it everywhere, a jolt of electricity that made my breath catch and my mind go blank. "Relax," Mile said softly, and he was close enough that I could smell his cologne, something clean and citrusy that made me want to lean closer. "Your kids want to have fun with you, not see you treating this like a board meeting. How did you—" "Emma told me you're very important and always busy." Mile's eyes held mine, and there was something searching in his gaze. "But you're here now. That's what matters." For a moment, we just stood there, his hands still over mine, and I could swear something passed between us. Recognition, interest, possibility. Then Miles stepped back, and I could breathe again. Barely. "Okay, Thorne family, first one to the palm tree wins," Mile called out, his voice bright and cheerful, giving no indication that he'd just completely short-circuited my brain. Emma took off like a shot, Michael close behind, and I found myself pedaling after them, my competitive nature kicking in despite myself. Mile jogged alongside us, laughing and cheering us on, and every time I heard his voice, I felt that pull. We didn't make it to the palm tree before Michael wiped out in the sand. I was off my bike in seconds, heart in my throat, but Mile was already there, helping Michael up with gentle hands that I was definitely not jealous of. "You okay, champion?" Michael nodded, brushing sand off his knees. "That was awesome! Can we do it again?" And just like that, my fear transformed into laughter, real laughter that came from somewhere deep inside me, somewhere I thought had died. Mile caught my eye, and his smile was radiant. "There it is." "What?" "Your smile. Your kids told me you forgot how to smile. Glad to see they were wrong." The way he was looking at me, warm, appreciative, maybe even a little interested, made me feel brave, reckless. "They weren't wrong," I admitted, "not until recently." "What changed?" Mile asked, and there was something in his voice, something careful and curious. "You," I thought, "you changed everything." But I couldn't say that, not with my kids right here, not when I was still figuring out what this even meant. "This vacation," I said instead, "getting away, remembering what matters." Mile held my gaze for a beat too long. Sometimes distance gives us clarity. Was he talking about the vacation, or was he talking about something else? Over the next few days, I found myself seeking out the kids' pavilion more often. Initially, I told myself it was to spend time with Emma and Michael, but increasingly, I had to admit the truth. I was drawn to Mile like a moth to flame. And the more time I spent with him, the more certain I became that this attraction wasn't one-sided. There were moments, small moments, that maybe meant nothing, or maybe meant everything. The way Mile's eyes would find me in a crowd, the way his smile seemed brighter when I was around, the way he'd brush my arm when walking past, casual touches that felt deliberate, the way he'd lean in when talking to me, closer than strictly necessary. Or maybe I was reading into things because I wanted them to be real. I didn't know. I'd never done this before, not with a man, not with the confusion and the uncertainty and the thrilling terror of wanting something I'd never let myself want. One evening, I found Mile after his shift, sitting alone on the beach. My heart hammered as I approached. "Mind if I join you?" I asked. He looked up, and his smile was immediate, genuine. "Please." I sat down beside him, close but not too close, hyper-aware of the space between us. "Your kids are amazing," Mile said, after a moment. "You're doing a great job with them." "Am I? Because 6 months ago I was completely failing them. But you recognized it. You changed it. That takes courage." I laughed bitterly, or desperation. "Same thing sometimes." Mile turned to face me. "Can I ask you something personal?" My heart jumped. "Sure." "Your wife, Emma mentioned her. You must have loved her very much." "I did, and it was true. She was everything." "But?" I looked at him sharply. "But what?" "There's a but in your voice." "Was there?" I stared out at the ocean, trying to find words for something I barely understood myself. "But I'm learning that life is more complicated than I thought," I said finally. "That people are more complicated. That I'm more complicated." Mile was quiet for a moment. "That must be scary." "Terrifying," I admitted. "For what it's worth," Mile said softly, "I think complication can be beautiful. It means growth. It means opening up to possibilities you didn't know existed." I turned to look at him, and he was already looking at me, and the moment stretched between us like a living thing. "Mile," I started, my voice rough. "I need to—" "Hey, Mile!" a voice called out, breaking the moment. One of Mile's colleagues was waving at him from the resort. "Need your help with something." Mile sighed, giving me an apologetic look. "I should—" "Go. It's fine." He stood but hesitated. "Alex, whatever you were going to say, I'd like to hear it. Maybe tomorrow?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. As he walked away, I pressed my hands to my face and tried to calm my racing heart. I was in so far over my head, and I was pretty sure I didn't want to find my way back to shore. The second week in Maldives was when everything shifted. Emma got stung by a jellyfish. Nothing serious, but painful. I was in the villa taking a work call, old habits die hard, when Michael came running. "Dad! Dad! Emma's hurt!" I dropped the phone and ran, my heart in my throat, fear clawing at my chest. Irrational, overwhelming fear that something was happening to my daughter, that I was going to lose someone else I loved. I found them at the first aid station. Mile was there, crouched next to Emma, holding her hand while the resort medic applied treatment.
He was talking to her softly, distracting her from the pain with a story about the time he got stung by 3 jellyfish in one day. When Emma saw me, her face crumpled. "Daddy!" I swept her into my arms, my heart racing, my hands shaking. "I've got you, baby. I've got you. You're okay. You're gonna be okay." Over her head, my eyes met Miles'. His expression was understanding, compassionate, and something else. Something that made my breath catch even in the midst of my panic. That night, after the kids were asleep, Emma with pain medication and lots of reassurance, I found Miles sitting alone on the beach. The resort was quiet, just the sound of waves and distant music from the bar. My hands were still shaking slightly, adrenaline and fear still coursing through me. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, my voice rough. He patted the sand beside him. "Please." I sat down, and for a moment we were quiet. Then the words started spilling out. For a moment, when Michael said she was hurt, I was back there, back in the hospital with Sarah. That feeling of helplessness, of watching someone you love in pain and not being able to fix it. I pressed my palms to my eyes. I thought I was past the worst of the grief, but it hits you at the strangest times. 6 years later, and I'm still grieving, Miles finished gently. "That doesn't go away, Alex. Love doesn't have an expiration date." "I know," I dropped my hands, "but I'm tired of being scared, tired of holding back, tired of not letting myself feel things because I'm afraid of getting hurt again." "What are you afraid of feeling?" Miles asked quietly. This was it, the moment. I could deflect, change the subject, keep pretending, or I could be honest, be brave, be the man Sarah had asked me to be, open to life, to love, to possibility. I turned to face him fully. "I'm afraid of how much I'm drawn to you." Miles' breath caught audibly. "Alex, let me finish, please. I needed to get this out before I lost my nerve. I've spent the past 2 weeks trying to figure out what's happening to me. I was married to a woman I loved deeply. I've only ever dated women. I never questioned that part of myself. But then I met you, and suddenly everything I thought I knew about myself is not wrong exactly, but incomplete." I ran a hand through my hair, frustrated at my inability to articulate this properly. "I'm probably bi, or pan, or I don't know what label fits. I'm still figuring it out. All I know is that I'm attracted to you in a way I haven't been attracted to anyone since Sarah, and it terrifies me. Not because you're a man, though that's definitely been a journey of self-discovery, but because it means opening my heart again, risking that kind of pain again." Miles was very still, his eyes locked on mine. "Alex, I'm 24. You're 36 with 2 kids. You're a billionaire. I'm sending money home to my parents' rice farm. You live in Los Angeles. I live in a small village in Chiang Rai. You've been married and lost someone you loved deeply. I've never had a serious relationship." His voice was gentle but honest. "I'm not sure this is a good idea." My heart was sinking. "You're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have—" "I'm not finished," Miles interrupted softly. "I was going to say, I'm not sure it's a good idea, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about you either." Hope flared in my chest, dangerous and bright. "Really?" "Really," Miles laughed softly, and the sound was shaky. "You're smart, you're kind when you let yourself be, you love your kids fiercely, and you're trying so hard to heal and grow. How could I not be drawn to that?" He paused. "But Alex, I need you to be sure. Not sure about labels or sexuality, that's your journey, but sure about this, about me, because I'm at a point in my life where I can't afford to have my heart broken. I'm here working toward a dream, supporting my family. My father's sick, his lungs from years of exposure to pesticides in the fields. My sister needs help with university fees. I need to stay focused." The vulnerability in his voice made something in my chest crack open. Here was this young man carrying so much responsibility, and I was adding to it with my confused middle-aged feelings. "I understand, and you're right to be cautious. I'm still figuring myself out. But Miles, these past 2 weeks, I felt more alive than I have in 6 years. You make me want to be better, not just for my kids,
but for myself. And maybe for you, if you're willing to take a chance on someone who's still learning who he is." Miles studied my face for a long moment. The moonlight caught in his eyes, and I'd never wanted to kiss someone so badly in my life. The urge was so strong it was almost painful to lean in, to close the distance, to find out if his lips were as soft as they looked. But I stayed still. This was his choice, his call. "Okay," Miles said finally. "Okay? Okay, let's see where this goes. But Mile, I need slow. I need honest communication. I need you to be patient with yourself and with me. And I need you to promise that you'll figure out what you need separate from me. I can't be the reason you're discovering your sexuality. That's not fair to either of us." "That's fair, more than fair. Mile, I promise I'll do the work. I'll figure out who I am, but I'd like to do it with you in my life, if you'll let me." "Slow," Mile repeated. "We take this slow." "Slow," I agreed. Then Mile did something that made my heart stop. He reached out and took my hand in his, threading our fingers together. It was just holding hands, the simplest gesture, but it felt monumental, revolutionary even. My first time holding hands with a man is something more than friendship. My first time letting myself want this, feel this, be this. We sat there on the beach under a sky full of stars, holding hands like teenagers, and it felt like the beginning of something I'd thought I'd never have again. Hope, possibility, the terrifying, exhilarating sensation of falling. The next 2 weeks were the happiest and most confusing of my life. Mile and I were careful. During the day, he worked with the kids, professional and warm. But in the evenings, after Emma and Michael were asleep, we'd meet on the beach. We'd talk for hours about everything and nothing. He told me about growing up in rural Thailand, how his parents were rice farmers who broke their backs in the fields so he could go to school, how his father started getting sick when he was in high school, chronic lung problems from years of pesticide exposure in the fields, but kept working because they needed the money. How Mile earned scholarships to university in Bangkok, studying hospitality and education because he wanted to lift his family out of poverty while also helping other kids like him. How every month he sent 70% of his salary home. How his sister was at university studying to be a teacher and he was helping with her fees. How his dream was to one day open an educational center for rural kids, giving them the opportunities he had to fight for. I told you about Sarah, really told you for the first time since she died, the good and the bad, the love and the grief, the guilt I felt about moving on, the fear that admitting I was attracted to you somehow diminished what I had with her. "Love doesn't work like that," Mile said gently. "It's not a finite resource. Loving someone new doesn't erase who you loved before. It just means your heart is big enough for both. Did you read that in a fortune cookie?" I teased, trying to lighten the moment, because his words had hit too close to something raw. Mile bumped my shoulder with a casual touch, and the electricity sent through me. "No, my grandmother told me that. She's very wise, also very short, and she makes the best mango sticky rice in all of Thailand. I'd like to meet her someday," I said without thinking. Mile went still. "Would you?" "Yeah, I would, and I meant it. I wanted to meet his family, see where he grew up, understand all the pieces that made him who he was." "That's a very boyfriend thing to say," Mile observed quietly. My heart jumped. "Is that what we are? Boyfriends?" The word felt strange in my mouth. At 36, calling someone my boyfriend seemed absurd, but I didn't know what else to call this thing between us that felt too significant for casual, too new for serious. "I don't know," Mile admitted. "What do you want us to be?" "I don't know either," I said honestly. "I just like being with you. I like talking to you. I like how you make me feel, alive and scared and hopeful all at once."
Mile turned to face me, and in the moonlight he looked impossibly young and impossibly wise at the same time. "Can I tell you something?" "Always." "I've never done this before. Not really. I dated a little in university, but nothing serious. I was always too focused on work, on helping my family. And I never let myself want more because I knew I couldn't afford the distraction." He paused. "But with you, I want to be distracted. That terrifies me. We're both terrified then, I said. What a pair we make. Mile laughed, and the sound was warm and a little broken. Alex, what happens when you go back to Los Angeles? When you return to being Alexander Thorne, billionaire CEO? When real life starts again? The question I'd been avoiding, the countdown clock I felt ticking louder every day. I don't know, I admitted, but Mile, I don't want this to end when I leave. How would it even work? Long distance across the Pacific? You with your company and your kids and your life? Me here working to support my family? He pulled his hand away from mine, and I immediately missed the warmth. I can't be your vacation fantasy, Alex. I can't be the person you experimented with to figure out your sexuality and then left behind. The words stung because they hit at my deepest fear, that this was just a moment out of time, something that couldn't survive in the real world. You're not a fantasy, I said firmly. You're real. This is real. And yes, I don't have all the answers about how it would work, but I'm not ready to give up before we even try. Mile looked at me with something like pain in his eyes. My father is getting worse, Alex. The doctors say he needs to stop working in the fields, but we can't afford for him to stop. My sister has 2 more years of university. I can't leave them. I can't chase a maybe with you across the world when my family needs me here. And there it was, the reality that no amount of money or wanting could fix. What if, I started, then stopped. What if I helped? Miles' expression shuddered immediately. No. Just listen. No, Alex. His voice was firm. I told you I need to do this on my own. My family, my responsibility, my way. I will not be your charity case. I will not be the poor Thai boy you rescued. That's not who I am, and that's not who I want to be to you. That's not what I meant. Isn't it? Miles stood up, his body tense. You're a billionaire. You solve problems with money, but you can't solve me. You can't solve us. Some things don't have easy solutions. I stood too, desperate to fix this. Mile, I'm sorry. You're right. I want to help. I want to make things easier for you. I know. His voice softened slightly. And that's kind, it really is. But Alex, I need you to understand. My dignity, my independence, these matter to me. My parents broke their backs so I could have opportunities. My father is literally dying slowly from the work he did to give me a future. I will not dishonor that by taking shortcuts. I will not become dependent on someone else's wealth, no matter how much I care about them. I understand, I said, though it hurt. I respect that. I'm sorry. Miles sighed and ran his hand through his hair. I'm sorry, too. It's just, I like you, Alex, more than I should, more than is wise. But I can see how this ends. You go home, you realize this was just a vacation thing, and I'm left here wasting time I don't have to waste. It's not a vacation thing, I insisted, but even as I said it, doubt crept in. How did I know? How could I be sure this wasn't just the bubble of paradise and distance from my real life? Mile, I'm figuring this out, all of it. My sexuality, my feelings, what I want. I know that's not fair to you. I know you need certainty, and I can't give you that yet. But what I can tell you is that what I feel for you is real. Mile looked at me for a long moment, and I saw the war in his expression, wanting to believe me, wanting to protect himself. Okay, he said finally, but Alex, I need you to promise me something. Anything. When you go home, take time to really figure yourself out. Don't call me, don't text me, don't try to maintain this until you know who you are and what you want. Because I can't be your maybe. I can't be your experiment. If you reach out to me again, I need you to be sure about your sexuality, sure about wanting something with me, sure enough that you're willing to figure out the impossible logistics. Can you do that? It felt like he was asking me to let him go, like he was preparing for goodbye. But I understood. He was protecting himself, and he had every right to. I promise. I'll do the work. I'll figure it out. And Mile, thank you. For what? For being patient with me, for taking a chance on someone who doesn't have his shit together, for helping me remember how to feel again. Miles' expression softened, and he stepped closer. Can I try something?
Yes, I breathed, knowing what he was asking, wanting it more than air. He reached up, cupping my face with one hand, gentle, questioning, and then he leaned in and kissed me. It was soft, tentative, perfect. His lips were warm and gentle against mine, and the world fell away. There was only this, the taste of him, the feel of him, the rightness of it that made everything else make sense. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. I needed to know, he whispered, if this was real, if the chemistry was just in my head. And, I asked, my voice rough. It's real, he said. It's very real. Then he stepped back, putting distance between us. But that makes it harder, not easier. I understood. How do you walk away from something that feels this right? We still have time, I said. We don't leave for another week and a half. Borrowed time, Mile corrected sadly. Time that's already running out. The next few days were bittersweet. Mile and I spent every evening together, and now that we had crossed the line into physical touch, it was harder to maintain boundaries. We'd walk along the beach holding hands. We'd sit close, our sides pressed together. We'd steal kisses when the kids weren't looking. Brief, heated moments that left me wanting more, but knowing we couldn't go further, not here, not now, not with Emma and Michael in the next room. But it was the conversations that really undid me. One night, Mile told me about the first time his father collapsed in the fields. He'd been 14, studying for exams, when his mother called screaming. They'd rushed to the hospital in a neighbor's truck, his father's lips blue, struggling to breathe. The doctors said it was the pesticides, years of breathing them in day after day. They said he needed to stop working, but we couldn't afford it, so he went back. My father's voice was hollow. Every day he goes back, he's choosing us over his health. How do you live with that? How do you accept that kind of sacrifice? You honor it, I said quietly, by becoming everything he sacrificed for, by building the life he wanted for you.
But it's not enough, Miles said, and his voice broke. It will never be enough. No success I have will give him back his lungs, his health, the years he's losing. I pulled him against me, and he let me, his face pressed to my chest while his shoulders shook with silent tears. I held him while he cried for his father, for the unfairness of poverty, for the weight of being the one who got out while his parents stayed behind suffering. My father has stage 3 COPD, Miles said when he could speak again. The doctors give him maybe 5 years if he stops working now, maybe 2 if he doesn't, and we both know he won't stop. Not until my sister finishes school, not until he knows we'll be okay. The numbers hit me like a fist to the gut. 5 years, maybe 2. This wasn't some abstract future problem. Mile was watching his father die in real time, counting down borrowed years. I'm going to lose him, Mile whispered, and he's never going to see me succeed. He's never going to see the school I want to build, the kids I want to help. He's dying so I can have a future he'll never be part of. I didn't have words for that kind of pain, so I just held him tighter. That's why I can't be distracted, Miles said eventually, pulling back to look at me with red-rimmed eyes. That's why I need to stay focused. Every day I waste is a day I'm not building toward the future he's dying for. Every moment I spend on something that might not last is a moment I'm not honoring his sacrifice. I understand, I said, and I did. How could I ask him to take a risk on me when the stakes were this high? When his father's life was literally ticking away in rice fields half a world away. But selfishly, I still wanted to. I still wanted him to choose me, choose us, choose possibility. The next evening, Emma noticed something was off. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked at dinner. "You look sad." "I'm fine, sweetie." "Is it because we have to leave soon?" "I don't want to leave either. I like it here. I like Mile." "We all like Mile," Emma agreed. "He's the best. Dad, can we invite him to Los Angeles? He could teach yoga at my school or something." "If only it were that simple." "Mile has his own life here, Em, his own responsibilities. We can't just ask him to uproot everything." "But you're sad about leaving him," Emma said, too perceptive for 10. "I can tell." I looked at my daughter. When had she gotten so observant, so intuitive, and decided to be honest, at least partially.
I am sad, I admitted. I've made a really good friend here, and it's hard knowing we'll be far apart. Can't you just video call? Michael asked. That's what I do with my friends when they move away. It's a little more complicated than that, buddy. Because you like him? Emma asked, and my heart stopped. What? Dad, I'm 10, not blind. The way you look at Mile is the way Mom used to say you looked at her, all googly-eyed and smiley. I opened my mouth, closed it, opened it again. This was it, the moment. I could deflect, or I could be honest with my kids about who I was becoming. I thought about what kind of father I wanted to be, what kind of man, the example I wanted to set. You're right, I said quietly. I do like Mile, not just as a friend, as more. Like boyfriend more? Michael asked, his eyes wide. Maybe, I'm still figuring it out. But Mile's a boy, Michael said, not judgmental, just confused. I thought you liked girls. You married Mom. I did marry Mom, and I loved her very much. But I'm learning that people can be more than just one thing. I can have loved your mom and also like Mile. Those things don't cancel each other out. Emma processed this, her face serious. Then, does this mean you're gay? Maybe bisexual, or maybe I'm just someone who falls for people regardless of gender. I'm still figuring out the right words for it. Oh, Emma thought about this. Okay, that's cool. That's it? Just okay? She shrugged. Dad, I'm 10. Half the kids at my school have 2 moms or 2 dads, or parents who are trans or whatever. It's not a big deal. Love is love, right? That's what Mom used to say. She was right. Sarah had said that. I'd forgotten. So can Mile be your boyfriend? Michael asked eagerly. Because that would be cool. He could come visit and teach me more bike tricks. I laughed despite the ache in my chest. It's not that simple, guys. Mile lives here. We live in Los Angeles. He has responsibilities and family who need him. Sometimes caring about someone isn't enough to make it work. That's stupid, Emma declared. If you love someone, you figure it out. That's what Mom always said, too. She said love was work, but it was worth it. Out of the mouths of babes. Your mom was very wise, I said softly. So are you going to figure it out? Emma pressed. Or are you going to be scared and give up? Emma, because the dad I knew before we came here would have given up, would have said it was too hard and gone back to working all the time. But you're different now. You smile now. You're here with us. And I think Mile did that. So maybe you should fight for him. I stared at my 10-year-old daughter, struck by her wisdom and her faith in me. When did you get so smart? I asked, my voice thick. I've always been smart, Emma said matter-of-factly. You just weren't paying attention. Ouch. Fair, but ouch. That night I found Mile on our beach, sitting in our spot. Emma knows, I said, sitting beside him. Both kids do. About us. About me figuring out I like men, or at least that I like you. Mile's eyes widened. How did they take it? Better than I did. Emma said love is love and asked when you're coming to visit. Michael wants you to teach him more bike tricks. Mile laughed, but it sounded sad. They're amazing kids, Alex. You're really lucky. I know. I paused. They said I should fight for this. For us. Mile was quiet for a long moment. What do you think? I think they're right. I think I've spent 6 years being scared, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions. I turned to face him. Mile, I know the logistics are impossible. I know the timing is terrible. I know I'm still figuring myself out. But I also know that what I feel for you is real, and I don't want to let it go without trying. Alex, let me finish, please. I took his hand. When I go home, I'll do what you asked. I'll take time to figure myself out, to really understand who I am and what I want. I'll work on being present with my kids, on being the father they deserve. And when I'm ready, when I'm sure, I'm going to call you, and I'm going to ask if you'll give us a real shot. And if the logistics are still impossible, Mile asked, then we'll figure it out, together. Because Emma's right, love is work, but it's worth it, and I think what we have could be worth it if we're both willing to try. Mile looked at me with those deep, kind eyes, and I saw the war in them, hope and fear, wanting and self-preservation. Ask me again when you're sure, he said finally, when you've done the work and you know who you are,
And if the answer is still me, if you're still willing to figure out the impossible, then we'll try. I'll meet you halfway." "That's all I can ask," I said. Then I leaned in and kissed him, slow and deep and full of promise, a kiss that tasted like goodbye and see you later all at once. When we pulled apart, we were both crying. "I'm going to miss you," Mile whispered. "I'm going to miss you too," I said. "But this isn't over. This is just the beginning." I hoped I was right. Our last day in the Maldives arrived too quickly. The kids were subdued as we packed, both of them hovering around me like they were afraid I'd disappear back into work the moment we landed in Los Angeles. "Dad," Emma asked as I folded clothes into a suitcase, "you're not going to forget everything when we get home, right? About being present and smiling and Mile?" I stopped packing and pulled her into a hug. "No, baby, I promise. Things are going to be different. I'm going to be different." "Good," she said fiercely, "because we like this dad. We want to keep him." "You will, I promise. No more 12-hour days. No more missing recitals. No more choosing work over you. I mean it, Emma." "Okay." She pulled back and looked at me seriously. "And you're going to call Mile? When you figure everything out?" "Yes." "Good, because I think he makes you happy, and you deserve to be happy, Dad. Mom would want that." I had to close my eyes against the tears. "Your mom would have loved you so much, both of you. You're so much like her, strong and wise and brave. We're like you, too. We just needed you to remember how to be yourself again." We found Mile of the kids' pavilion for one last goodbye. He'd given Emma and Michael small gifts, hand-carved wooden elephants from Thailand, and letters he'd written to each of them. "Don't read these until you're home, but when things get hard, or when you miss this place, read them and remember what I said, okay?" Both kids hugged him tight, and I saw Mile's eyes shining with tears. Then it was my turn. We walked a little apart from the kids, to a quiet corner of the beach. "So," Mile said. "So," I echoed. "This is harder than I thought it would be," he admitted. "For me too." Mile pulled something from his pocket, a small beaded bracelet in blues and greens. "My sister made this. It's supposed to bring good fortune and clear thinking. I was going to keep it, but—" He held it out. "I think you need it more than me right now." I took it with shaking hands and slipped it onto my wrist. "I'll wear it until I see you again." "If you see me again," Mile corrected gently. "When I see you again." Mile smiled sadly. "You're so certain." "I have to be, because if I let myself believe this is the end, I won't be able to get on that plane." We stood there looking at each other, and I wanted to memorize everything, the way the sunlight caught in his hair, the exact shade of his eyes, the curve of his smile. "Alex," Mile said softly, "thank you for these weeks, for seeing me, for being brave enough to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Thank you for being patient with me, for not running when I was a confused mess, for taking a chance." "Well, we'll see if I should be thanked for that," Mile said wryly. "I might have just signed up for heartbreak. Or for something amazing." "Ever the optimist now," Mile observed. "You did that. You gave me back hope." Then, because we were running out of time and I needed him to know, I pulled him close and kissed him one last time. Not gentle, not tentative, desperate and deep and full of everything I couldn't say. When we pulled apart, we were both breathing hard. "Come back to me," Mile whispered. "I will. I promise I will." 8 months later. The therapist's office was quiet, except for the sound of the clock ticking. "So, Alex," Dr. Martinez said, "we've been meeting for 6 months now. You've done a lot of work. How are you feeling?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Different," I said finally. "Good different. I've accepted that I'm bisexual, that I can love Sarah's memory and still be open to new love, that my sexuality doesn't diminish what I had with her or what I might have with someone else." "And your children?" "They're thriving. I'm present, really present. I started a foundation in Sarah's name for cancer research. Emma is excelling at piano. Michael made the soccer team. We have dinner together every night. We talk about their mom, about feelings, about life. They know about Mile. about my journey. They're supportive. And Mile? My heart clenched. I haven't contacted him, like I promised. It's been 8 months of silence. But you're ready now, Dr. Martinez said, not a question. I'm ready now, I confirmed. I know who I am, I know what I want, and I'm ready to fight for it. So what's stopping you? Fear, I admitted. What if he's moved on? What if 8 months was too long? What if he doesn't want to deal with the complications of my life? Only one way to find out, Dr. Martinez said gently. That night, after the kids were in bed, I sat on my balcony overlooking Los Angeles and pulled out my phone. Miles' contact was still there. I'd looked at it 1,000 times but never pressed call. Tonight, I did. It rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. Maybe he wasn't going to answer. Maybe... Hello? His voice. After 8 months of silence. His voice. Mile, I breathed. It's Alex. There was a pause. I know. I've been wondering if you'd call. I promised I would, when I was ready. And are you? Ready? Yes, I said firmly. I've spent the last 8 months working on myself. Therapy, self-reflection, really coming to terms with who I am. I'm bisexual. I'm a father. I'm a man who's ready to love again. And Mile, when I think about who I want to love, it's you. Silence on the other end. Then, Alex, nothing's changed. I'm still here, still working, still supporting my family. My father, he's worse. We don't know how much time he has left. I can't leave. I know, and I'm not asking you to, but Mile, what if I told you I've been looking into something? What if I told you I could bring your father to the U.S. for treatment, that Thorne Industries is opening a new facility in Thailand, and we need someone to direct community education programs? What if I told you I've been working with organizations that support rural farmers, learning about the pesticide crisis, and I want to fund a program that could help families like yours? Alex, I'm not trying to save you or buy you, but I have resources, Mile, resources I want to use to make the world better. And if in doing that I can also help the person I care about, why wouldn't I? These are things I'm doing regardless. The Thailand facility is happening. I need someone good to run the education programs. The Farmer Support Initiative is launching. We need someone who understands the community. I'm just asking if you'd consider being part of it. You're serious, Mile said slowly. Completely. Come to Los Angeles. Bring your father for treatment. I have connections with the best pulmonologists in the country. Your sister can finish her degree at UCLA on a Thorne Industries scholarship. Your mother can come too. You can take the director position, work towards your dream of helping rural kids. And Mile, you can give us a chance, a real chance. That's insane. That's too much. I can't accept... It's not charity, I interrupted. It's an investment in someone brilliant and dedicated who I believe in programs that will help thousands of families. Yes, you're the catalyst, but this is bigger than us. This is about making change. I need to think, Miles said, but I could hear something in his voice. Hope. Take your time, I said. But Mile, I meant what I said. I'm ready. I'm sure, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this work. Because you were right. Love is work, but you're worth it. Alex, Miles said, and his voice broke. I've missed you. Every day, I've missed you. I've missed you too. So much. If I say yes, Miles said slowly, if I come to Los Angeles, if I bring my family, if I take this insane risk, I need to know you're all in, not just interested, not just exploring. All in. I'm all in, I said, without hesitation. Emma and Michael are asking when you're visiting, by the way. They've been writing you letters. I told them to hold off sending them until I talk to you, but they have about 50 between them. Mile laughed, and the sound made my heart soar. 50 letters? They love you. I love you. The words came out before I could stop them, but I didn't take them back. I love you, Mile. I'm in love with you. And I want to build a life with you, whatever that looks like. Silence. Then,
I love you too, Mile whispered. I think I have since that first bike ride. I've just been too scared to admit it. So come to Los Angeles. Come home to me. Okay. Okay, yes. I'll talk to my family. We'll figure it out. Together. Together, I agreed. After we hung up, I sat there with the phone pressed to my chest, tears streaming down my face. Did you hear that, Sarah? I whispered to the stars. I'm going to be happy again. I'm going to love again. Thank you for making me promise to stay open. Thank you for knowing I'd need that.
A month later, I stood in LAX arrivals, holding a sign that said Pak Foom Family, with Emma on one side and Michael on the other. Dad, you're fidgeting, Emma observed. I'm nervous, I admitted. Don't be. Mile loves you. This is going to be great. Then I saw him. Mile, pushing a cart with luggage, his parents on either side, his sister trailing behind. When our eyes met across the crowd, his face broke into the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. He left the cart with his family and actually ran through the crowd. I met him halfway, and when he reached me, I caught him in my arms and kissed him, right there in the middle of LAX, not caring who saw. You came, I said against his lips. You called, he said back. You did the work. You became the man you promised you'd be. And you're here. You're really here. I'm here, Mile pulled back to look at me, his hands cupping my face. I'm here, and I'm scared, and I'm excited, and I'm ready to try. Me too, I said. All of it. Together? Together. Emma and Michael crashed into us then, hugging Mile and talking a mile a minute. Mile's family approached more slowly, his father leaning heavily on his mother, but smiling. I extended my hand to Mile's father. Mr. Pak Foom, welcome to Los Angeles. We're going to take good care of you. His father took my hand with both of his, tears in his eyes, and said something in Thai. He says thank you, Mile translated, his own voice thick. Thank you for giving his son a chance at happiness. Thank you for seeing him. Thank your son, I said, for teaching me how to see again. That night, after we'd gotten Mile's family settled in the guest house, after his father had been scheduled with the best specialists, after Emma and Michael had finally gone to bed, still chattering about having Mile here, Mile and I stood on my balcony, overlooking the city lights. This is real, Mile said wonderingly. This is really happening. It is, I confirmed, wrapping my arms around him from behind. And it's going to be complicated and messy and hard sometimes. But Mile, I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm in this for the long haul. Mile turned in my arms, looking up at me with those eyes I'd fallen for in paradise. I believe you. And Alex, I'm all in too, completely. I kissed him then, slow and deep and full of promise. The kiss tasted like new beginnings, like hard-won happiness, like a man who'd forgotten how to smile, learning to love again. 6 years ago, I thought my story ended in a cemetery, standing between two small children and promising to survive. But I was wrong. That wasn't an ending, it was an intermission. This, Mile in my arms, my children happy, my heart open, this was the next chapter. Not a replacement for what I'd lost, but a continuation of the story. A story about grief and healing, about questioning everything you thought you knew about yourself, about finding love in the most unexpected places, about remembering how to smile. I love you, I told Mile. I love you too, he said back, now and always. And standing there, overlooking Los Angeles, the city lights spreading before us like possibility, I believed in always again. The end.
Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next story.